Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Vault, the show where we reach back into the Disney vault, pull out a movie, and find out if it was a hidden treasure or if it was locked away for our own good. I'm your host, Garrison MacCraw, and with me today is actual New Yorker Chris Senn.
Hi, Garrison. Thank you for having me. This is it's a pleasure to be here.
Wow, that is so toned down for what I thought a New Yorker intro I gave you would have been. I was expecting I'm walking here.
Hey, forget about it. I've been out of New York for a little while, so I think I'm starting to acclimatize back to the Florida heat.
But you're going back soon, so I wanted to get you back into the swing of things with New York. So we're gonna watch the most New York Disney movie of all time, Newsies.
I thought you were gonna say Oliver and Company.
Yeah, Oliver and Company, the most
But that's
New
more
York
of a hit,
movie.
though. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is good. Or not. I haven't seen it in a while. I wouldn't worry about it.
Billy Joel did the music, which, hot take, that's the most New York thing, apparently. They're really proud of Billy Joel. It's pizza, bagels, some people are proud of the Mets, I think, I don't know, and then Billy Joel, top 5.
And then the black and white cookie underneath that.
I never knew about the black and white cookie until I got to New York, and now I see it everywhere. It's that effect where something's always been around, but you didn't know about it until.
And then you just see it everywhere.
Yeah, now it's at Publix here, man.
Yeah,
it was always there.
Like how you're going to see references to Newsies everywhere you go after today.
It's every newspaper I see. It's
going to be
that movie.
Just like in Newsies.
I think so.
Now tell me, you live in New York. How's the paperboy industry nowadays? Is it still going strong?
Everywhere you look, it's just the paper industry apparently is strong because there's newspapers everywhere.
I don't care about
you
that.
Never see one being
I want
sold.
the paper boys.
The paper boys.
Yeah, are they still running around?
I don't know if it's
doing jump splits.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's why they kind of tanked. Is that they were too busy choreographing these amazing dances and no one was getting their papers on time. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to spoil the movie either. I'm assuming it doesn't bode well for the newspaper boy industry.
We'll find out. I don't know. So you haven't seen this?
No, I have not.
Do you have any sort of guess as to what this is?
Well, just going off the title, Newsies.
Yep.
I wonder if it's going to be moving newspapers because that's where we get movies from, which is crazy that's what we still call it because it was the talkies, which was the talking pictures.
Yeah.
And then we called them the movies because it was the moving pictures.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy, I think. So I can only assume that it's going to be a bunch of, as we talked, paper boys dancing. Do you know why they're dancing around? Do you have any idea as to the central conflict, the themes, any of it? Okay, if I had to wager a guess as to why they're dancing, it would be that, well, they're in New York.
Yeah.
And so
they all want to be Broadway stars.
They're all they all want to be an actor. You know what I mean? It's it's weird when you don't I don't get why anyone lives in that city if you don't want to be an actor. There's so many. What are you, a lawyer? You can be a lawyer literally anywhere and make way more money. It's so expensive.
Yeah, I will say that's the thing about when I went to New York. I went recently, and there are so many jobs that you think are higher end jobs, and then you get to New York and you see the top of the line news studio, and it's this corner building. Today Show's just this little corner. I'm why would you want to do news here when you could just do be in Minneapolis or a little town in Iowa and have this giant studio where people are pampering you?
Yeah.
You have 17 parking spots.
Or even I feel even go to just a smaller metropolitan area Cincinnati or Atlanta or whatever. Pick a city other than LA. It's cheaper than New York. I guarantee you. And it's $100,000 for the size of this room that we're in right now. This would be, I couldn't afford this, let alone the rest of your studio. But air quotes. But it's egregiously expensive, and I don't understand. The people are proud of it though. People are really they look down on people who aren't originally me, the non-originals as they call them.
All right, I think this might be all we can talk about before actually seeing it. So let's give it a watch, and then we'll just see what we think, what you think, what I think. I already know what I think. I've seen it.
You've seen it? Well, spoilers.
They do dance around a lot.
Not original
it's
content.
Mostly just dancing.
This is kid Christian Bale, yes?
Yeah.
Child Christian. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see a method act through this one.
Yeah.
Do you think he sold a lot of papers to get ready for this?
Definitely. And he didn't eat for weeks.
I want to know.
And then overate. And then didn't eat.
And then became the vice president.
Yeah. Classic him.
I also want to know how newspapers haven't inflated in like what? I mean, when does this take place? Like the...
Do you want to know?
20s?
No, it's 1899.
Oh, okay. So, what, 19th century. So they cost like what, a nickel then? And now they're like a quarter? Maybe that's also why they kind of, died out, is they didn't really,
Yeah. Maybe they should have, you'll see.
We'll see.
You'll see.
No spoilers.
Here we go.
Okay.
We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. We have finished the movie now. All right, Chris. How are you feeling?
Boy, man, that's the most like... That's the most New York I think I've ever seen in a movie. And I've seen Gangs of New York. I've seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
I've seen
the movie.
I've seen
all
Home
the TV
Alone
shows
2.
Seinfeld.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, Friends.
Yeah. The movie. All the TV show of Friends.
Yes, the movie, the TV show Friends. And that's, I think, the most like... Hey,
what's going on here? Hey,
which isn't inherently New York, but if you ask anyone like, "Hey, New York," they're gonna be like, "Hey,
what's going on here? I gotta sell these papes."
That intro I didn't do earlier. I'm gonna get into papes later. I have a real bone to pick with papes. How so?
You can get into it now.
Okay, let's talk about it. So in the movie, about these Newsies, which aren't what I thought it was. It wasn't Hogwarts style moving newspapers. It was they're the boys that sell the newspapers, and to save time and energy and effort, because who has the time to say paper?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They call the newspapers papes because that extra. Like, you can't even go, like, papers, it's one more syllable, but, like, I feel like every movie
they don't have time for that.
They're like, hey, we gotta
sell these
papes. We gotta get them out of here.
The what? Don't make me say it twice. I've already used enough time saying the word pape. Next time it's just gonna be p. I'm gonna sell the p.
Gotta sell these the
pus.
Yeah.
This movie opens up. It's 1899. There's a bunch of newsboys jumping around, singing about how their life is great. It's like, we make $10 a year. Life's awesome.
But as a kid, I mean, that's like the best. You know what I mean?
That's the best.
Like, that's the most you can imagine. Like, money is just a thing that you.
They're all
have.
living in some. It seems like a hotel that they just let these kids kind of stay at.
Like a summer camp bed and breakfast. It's like. And it's like every other movie that I think was made in the early 90s of just that like it's a bunch of kids together in an undisclosed like environment.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can really kind of tell. I think there's a lot of things that can date a movie, and one of them is the amount of like children smoking / adults hitting kids.
Yes.
Like, it's like, hey, you dumb kid. Like, that really
slapping
tells
them.
you.
It's like, this was not made today. This was not made even 20 years. This was This was nearly 30 years ago now. Can't believe that. 1992 is almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, okay. That means I'm sort of almost 30, you know what I mean? In a way. Like, yeah.
What a time. Soon you won't be able to jump around New York anymore. I'm sorry, man.
Maybe that's why they, were getting the... they raised the papers as they were like, hey, we sold 5 this week because you guys spent a week choreographing this, like, insane dance number.
It's like, hey, it helps us with our processes.
Yeah, I really think this whole movie was just a ploy of, like, hey, how many New York accents can we... Like, movies set records are like, oh, this is the movie that had the most this and that. I think this movie definitely set a record for the most, like New
York accents.
Wow, what is that? Like, there's like one, like, vowel or verb that, like, they, like, hit a lot, and it's like it's like use guys but not use guys. I don't know. They said something a lot, and it was like very like.
What do you want? Those sort of.
The papes.
So our hero Jack Kelly and all his friends, they all sell newspapers. There's some new kids in town. David and his little brother Les. Jack and David and Les team up because Les is a little boy, and they can trick adults into selling more papers.
Which, new strike to my head, I don't think I could have told you a single person's name other than Jack Kelly, and that's because I think 15% of the dialogue is just Jack Kelly.
Jack Kelly.
They really
I'm Jack Kelly.
Which plot twist? That's not his actual name.
No.
Couldn't tell you what his actual name is because they say that like once in passing.
Francis Ford Coppola or whatever it was.
Yeah, sure. This is a backstory of the director of The Godfather.
Yeah. Jack, he's not doing so good. I mean, he's living life, but he really just wants to live in Santa Fe. That's all he wants.
Who doesn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What childhood, is like, I just can't wait to get out to Santa Fe with all that, fresh air.
And The Alamo.
The Cowboys. Which, I mean, I guess, like, and again, in 1899 New York, how different could 1899 Santa Fe be
right.
to 1890? I mean, it was still a town, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
you're trading, like, street gangs for just, like,
for cowboy
gangs.
Like, he gets out there and, like, they're still, like, selling papers. And he's like, son of a... You know,
yeah.
like, oh,
it's like, I can't win.
They're selling tumbleweeds instead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the tumbleweed prices are going up. I don't know what to do.
So, evil corporate mustache twirler Joseph Pulitzer decided that, hey, we're not making enough money, so we're going to have to do this new thing to make more money. And his team's like, oh yeah, we could, do, like, salary cuts or something. And he's like, no, not something that affects me. What affects other people? Like, oh, we could raise the price of the newspapers for these Newsies. And he's like, brilliant! That doesn't affect me, and it's people I don't care about, so who cares? Do whatever.
Yeah. Let's just affect the people that work for me. This is the film that Bob Iger watched before becoming CEO of Walt Disney World. Also,
and then he stopped halfway through and he was like, brilliant!
Yeah, he was like, I got it. I get the message. He's really winning. That's the end of the movie. Pulitzer played impeccably, might I add, by Robert Duvall, who I can only assume rolled a die with like a different accent on it every time they did a take, because it isn't like it's the one. I'll give him that. It's the one not New. I don't think he ever did a New York accent.
Yeah,
he did about every other accent. I think I heard Russian at one point, like German-ish, Southern, and I love Robert Duvall. He's great.
Yeah, and he can play so many different types of characters, even in one movie. It
really kind of takes you... Yeah, it was the first split.
James McAvoy, who, you know?
Yeah, which also, it kind of makes me go, if this guy was such a baddie, you know, this Pulitzer fella, you know, if he was... What's up with this whole award we have named after? Like, it's actually an award you get for...
For writing.
For I was going to say oppressing children. You know,
oppressing children.
Believe it or not, yes. Mary Shelley won the award not for Frankenstein, but she just really didn't like her kids. You know? Yeah.
She made him do chores, never like a allowance ever. And they're like, good job, Pulitzer Prize for you.
Prize. Yeah, we think it's a nice thing, but actually.
No. So all these Newsies, they stop jumping around for 2 seconds to be like, wait a second, we're going to be making less than $10 a year. We might make like $8 a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't do that. It's like we can't even afford rent with that, you know? Like
we can't afford that top bunk, you know what I mean? Which again, honestly, you'd be lucky to get a top bunk in a studio for $850, you know, and you're now I'd kill for that. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, sure. Also papes.
So they all organize inspired by local trolley strikes. Trolley. That's not a word.
Trolley strike. The trolley problem.
The trolleys.
The trolley.
No, so they're inspired by these other strikes and decide to form on their own, set up a strike and say, we're not gonna sell any of your newspapers ever again, forever and ever. And so they're like, okay, how about we just send like people to beat you up then? So they do.
Yeah, you know child abuse. You know that old hat in movies. Which, can I just say, like, I feel like, so I was just looking over the wiki synopsis of this too, just to kind of make sure I got everything, because that's the thing I'll get into later too. Is that there's a lot going on. Like, and when I say a lot going on, there's not really a lot going on. It's more like they're saying a lot very quickly, usually with like 9 other people saying things. And like they each get a line of dialogue. It's like the kids made their own union in the movie that said we
each need a line.
Yes,
it's like we're in the movie. It's like what are we gonna do? I can't. The other kid's like, I can't eat anymore. The other one's like, yeah, we'll have nowhere to live. Yeah, their price is too high. Yeah. My name's Steven. Just wanted you all to know that.
Oh, it's that old adage of tell don't show. Yeah. So the kids organize this strike that they're not going to sell the papers anymore. They're like, well, if we're going to do this, we got to make sure that all the kids are involved in this sort of... That's the other thing, too. They're like, yeah, we can just say we're in a union and, like, it'll be a union. Like, they have to, recognize that. And there's a kid, too, I think just behind Jack Kelly, the word that said the most in this movie, I think is Brooklyn. And this other kid who I think you described best as like a child Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Just really, and not a dumb, like, oh, this must be like a big kid or like, the tough, like strong one, like, who's doing it. No.
Because they hype him up because they're like, we got to go to Brooklyn and make sure the make sure Spot Collins in Brooklyn is on our side. Then all the Newsies around the universe will team up with us if Spot Collins is here. So it's like, oh, this guy's like a big deal, you know?
He's the Nick Fury of the Newsies universe.
Yeah, he's like the toughest and like the smartest. And to get there, it's the scrawny.
He's like half the size of Jack Kelly, which would have been fine if they like leaned into that humor, but they still kind of act like he's the
tough guy, and everyone's like, "Whoa, hey, Spot Collins, we don't want any trouble here." But they did prove he was good with a slingshot, so
yes,
that's something to be afraid of.
There's one thing he loves more than Brooklyn, it's that slingshot.
What else happened?
It's a lot more of that. Like, that kind of goes through on for, like, about an hour and 50 minutes of them, like, kind of, sort of banding together.
And then, like, trying to start, like, a riot, and then, like, it falls apart, and people show up and beat them up, and then they try to start, like a big, like, get-together of everyone, then the police come. One of their good friends, Crutchy, gets taken away. And they care for half a second.
They're kind of like, oh no. Right? But there's so many. I feel like half of them didn't even really notice. They're like, hey, we seem to be moving a little bit faster as a group. That seems like, because that seems weird. But hey, it's a good thing, I guess. Jack kind of cares for a second, but I honestly don't remember. Like,
because he was
going to get him out.
He was going to get him out. He had a rope, and then I guess it was just too hard.
And I think some guards came and they're like,
never mind.
Like, I think he just did that for his conscience to kind of be like, hey, I tried.
Guys.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I sort of went there.
My good friend, whatever his name is, he has a crutch.
Yeah.
Don't the crutch.
Yeah, which they call him crutch. I will point out, all of these kids have names. Couldn't tell you a single one of them. But the one that they do say occasionally is Crutchy. They call this kid with a crutch, Crutchy.
Do you think he likes that?
It just seems like the big, like, he's like, hey, my name's Steve, by the way. Like, I know, I've said this like 9 times.
All right, Crutchy.
I don't know who I got to talk to.
Okay, it's like, it's one
kind
crutch,
of offensive,
you know? Like, I'm not multiple crutching it.
Yeah,
like,
it's a slight limp.
It's a cane, basically. Like, I have a cane. I'm walking around New York all day. Please.
Yeah, please.
Like, all right, Crutchy. It's like, what do we call the kid with the eye patch? Oh, you mean Joe?
Is Jim? Yeah, we're talking about,
we talk about Jim all the time. What about eye patch kid?
We don't call him One Eye Willie?
Oh, hey, come on.
Hey.
He lost that eye.
Hey, geez.
Come on, man.
Come on, show some sympathy.
Then there's a big hullabaloo where this guy, Snyder, wants to arrest Jack. Because I guess Jack was arrested before. Then he got out. And now he wants to put him back in jail. And this guy's just so passionate about getting Jack Kelly.
He's really into it. And, like, Jack Kelly, too, mind you. I think something I kind of noticed early on is, like, Jack Kelly is, like, a good mixture of, like, Aladdin and Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely, and I don't know if it's Jack Kelly's played by Christian Bale, who went on to be American Psycho. So I don't know if it's just he still looks like that Christian Bale, because Christian Bale now looks very different than young Christian Bale.
He seems like he wants to help you and, like, steal some bread for you, but he might just kill you in an alley.
And he says street rat a lot too. Like I feel like if you had one of those word pictures, like, where it's like the word that you say the most or whatever is like biggest, and then it kind of goes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just like, divulges.
Yeah. So I feel like another one up there would be street rat.
Yeah.
And I would love Alan Menken, if you're listening, please do tell us if the street rat song from Aladdin was originally so. Something else we found out.
Yeah.
Newsies came out in April of 1992.
Yes.
Music written by Alan Menken. Aladdin came out November of 92, also written by Alan Menken. So
we're wondering if songs from like this movie and that movie, like if some ideas were like Nick's, so he just brought him to the other project. Like if like Street Rat was meant for like Jack Kelly, where he's just there in an alley, like riff raff, Street Rat. Huh, I don't buy that.
Oh, another fun game to play in this movie is just listening for any time Christian Bale's accent kind of slips. It's really great. Everyone, I don't buy that.
Because he is a very British man trying to be a very
overtly New York. Like everyone in this is.
Is that a Disney thing? Because they're doing that with Tom Holland now. Like getting a British guy to kind of be like the New Yorker.
I feel like that's the only if a British person is playing an American, they're either playing a New Yorker or a Southerner. That's the only. They're never an American from Wisconsin. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if they can't do it. But anyway, yeah.
But imagine if like they're doing Wisconsin accent, this British slips out from that.
Oh, I guess it would be like really jarring as opposed to the other two, which are kind of I don't know. Like I feel like Minnesota would kind of be easy for like a British to do. They really round those O's. This is really great conversation for podcast. I'm sorry, but no. So yeah, this guy's trying to catch Jack Kelly. And he's helped by this vaudevillian performer who has kind of a weird relationship with Jack Kelly.
Yeah, so Jack Kelly is friends with this, the vaudeville performer, and they flirt with each other, but she's definitely like mid-30s.
Easily, yeah, at least. Like, and he's what, 16
he's
tops?
Like 17. And he's like, she was a friend of my father. And I don't know. I got the vibe that it may not have been the most wholesome of relationships. Perhaps.
Yeah, there's we'll put it that it leaves it open for interpretation. Yes. That also a lot of like really somewhat big actors in this. Like I think she was nominated for like 2 Oscars. That lady, you know.
Every other actor in this movie, like look at him. That's like Academy Award nominee.
Yeah.
Like Bill Pullman's in this as like a guy who works for a newspaper trying to help them like get the word out. But they have this big rally at this vaudeville's like establishment. And then the police show up, arrest Jack, and everyone's like, oh no, they got one of ours. Oh man, this is the first time they ever kidnapped one of us.
Yeah, meanwhile, Crutchy's still rotting in prison.
Yeah. They're like, well, we gotta help Jack. Like, we all have to rally together.
And help a guy who really, if you think about it, in the text of the movie, like from what we've seen, we're told that he's the leader a lot. But no, if anything, this Brooklyn kid is the leader.
No one would rally until Spot got there, and half the words were by like Dave, and they say that the whole time that Dave is like the mouthpiece. Like Dave could just tell Spot what to say. Jack isn't like he's not a necessity for this like movement.
No, he's like the best looking one, and like that's it. Like, we gotta have that face, Hey, gotta have him for the papes,
the papes that they aren't selling.
Those headlines sell. You know what I mean?
There's a song in here, King of New York, where their friend Bill Pullman puts their picture in a newspaper, and they're all celebrating because they're now going to be famous. But do they realize they're newsboys striking against selling newspapers? Who's reading this?
No one's seen those newspapers, man. Like
you're not going to be famous. I'm sorry.
It'd have been great if they'd all sold out right there. They're like, actually, I kind of want people to see this. Like,
that's it. We're selling this one. Anyway, they get Jack. They get.
No, they don't get Jack. Well, they get him out, and then he goes back. Yeah, because old Pulitzer
is like, hey, I still have Crutchy. He's like, who? Crutchy. He's like,
yeah,
Crutchy.
My best friend.
My best friend Crutchy. Yeah, we all know Crutchy. And Pulitzer's like, listen, and he switches accents 10 times and goes, how about you just get on a train, and I'll give you a bunch of money, and you just tell everyone you sold out to me. It'll be great. You'll have a grand old time. You'll have all the money in the world.
Which, what are the odds that Pulitzer knew his one dream was to get out of the city? I mean, he could have said, he's like, hey, you could, get yourself a skyline apartment or something. But he's like, hey, you could, go to a city, get on a train and leave.
Maybe
here.
The West. I don't know.
Like maybe you sang a song. That's the whole thing. He's sang Santa Fe 2 floors below Pulitzer's apartment.
Pulitzer's like,
he heard it. He's like, oh wow, that kid wants to go to Santa Fe.
Yeah, so Jack's out in the world with some fancy suits, and everyone's like, I can't believe you sold out. You now wearing a suit and selling papes. Which, why is he selling papes if he has all this money?
Yeah, that was something else I didn't quite get. He didn't seem to make it... He made it seem like there weren't, conditions to this thing. He was like, hey, you just beat it, and I'll give you money to, not do this anymore. It wasn't but you gotta, sell me... $200. Yeah. You got to sell 2,000 papers
or make a show for them. It was nothing like that. Yeah. Was he doing it for his own?
And all of a sudden he's living in the basement of that one place. I was like, where did this come into play? I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of deleted scenes in this movie that were vital. Usually you see a deleted scene, you're like, oh, okay,
that could have gone.
Yeah, I get it.
Could have been and also while you're here, you need to live in my basement. It's one of the conditions of our agreement. Why? I just want someone living in my... I want to say I have someone living in my basement. It'd be really cool. All the other rich guys have a guy in their
all this
basement.
really creepy stuff down there is just going to waste. Got a weird cot for some reason.
Yeah.
Also, something we haven't brought up that's a part of this movie because... reason we haven't brought it up is because it's not integral to the plot at all.
Nope.
Is there's a random romance with... what's his name's sister?
Davy's sister, Sarah?
Sarah? Sure, that's her name.
That's her name.
I think they say it a couple times.
Yeah.
She's got about 3 minutes of screen time and
they have a romance as in the 2 minutes are on screen together. They just have cuts of them looking at each other.
Yeah,
mostly.
And she's like, oh, you they meet, and then the next time we see them together, it seems like they've been together for a while.
Yeah.
Or they've kind of, and there's also no tension in this shoehorned relationship either. I feel like usually there was always that scene where someone misunderstands something or like there's those movies where she's coming in to see him, and he's like, right before she gets to earshot, he's like, "What do you want me to hear? Do you want me to hear? I don't care about Sarah at all." Like, because if that's what I'll say, and then she only hears that
about
part.
me.
Yeah. There's none of that. They're fine through the whole movie, and when I say the whole movie, I mean the 5 minutes of screen time they have together.
But it's a big plot point that these goons who work for not Pulitzer, but the guy under Pulitzer, but not the guy under Pulitzer, the guy under him. So there's goons under that guy, and they're just, I don't know, going to rough up Davey because he's now the new leader of this Newsboys Strike. And so they find his sister, and then they start pulling her aside and beating up Davey.
Like right on that cusp of like not hitting a girl, like in 90s movies, you know what I mean? Where they're like, we're
pulling
about
on
to
your
do
arm.
it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
and then Jack walking by randomly sees this and goes full like Christian Bale Batman on him.
Yeah, in all of New York City, like, you know what I mean? He's on that one one street,
and happens to look over.
That was very New York. I mean, there's nothing more the New Yorkers like to do than like. Let me take that again. There's nothing more than New Yorkers love doing than watching movies set in New York. Talk about how like astronomical the odds are of people being in the same place at the same time, or like he was just on 28th and 5th. Now you're telling me he's on 76th and 18th? No way, man.
No,
that's
not going to happen.
Each other, you know, yeah.
And as someone who recently walked around New York, if I had lost my girlfriend, like let go of her hand for 2 minutes, I would have never found her.
Oh yeah, you would have been like, well, okay, that was
good relationship. She's gone now.
We have the same flight back. Nope, she's gone.
She's gone.
Like, I lost her.
Do not believe I'll see her again.
But see, the crazy thing is though, it's like I don't know. Like I knew all of 6 people in New York City. Like when I was there, like I didn't know anybody. And I somehow ran into those 6 people like all the time. You know what I mean? Like we didn't live anywhere near each other. It would just be like, I'm walking this way, they were walking that way, and it was like Dave? No, man. Crutchy, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Yeah, no.
How's the limp? Still there.
He's still selling those papes.
Yeah. To this day in New York. Yeah, so Jack steps in and he's like, never mind, I can't do this anymore. I'm a newsie through and through. I gotta do a jump split, like I can't wear the suit. It's too constrictive for my groundwork, It's
like very Footloose vibes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's just like, he's just gotta dance.
You gotta dance.
Just gotta dance. I think that would have been better if they leaned into that aspect too, that these newsies wanna dance,
Yeah.
So they do that more than they sell papes.
Yeah. Except in the second act where all the music basically comes to a standstill and it's all just dialogue after dialogue after dialogue.
Which we discussed. This is kind of like a thing in Disney musicals. Watch any Disney musical, especially Alan Menken ones, where like
halfway through the songs just stop.
It's like 7 songs in the first 45 minutes. And then they're like, you get it. And they're like, all right, now we got to do some story. And so they tell the stories and you'll get like one reprise. And then maybe one big closer.
Yeah.
And like
That's
literally every Alan Menken musical I can think of is that way. Other than maybe Hercules. And even then, I think you have a pretty big...
There's a big gap. Yeah. So now that the Newsies are all together again, except Crutchy.
He's still in jail. Not worried a bit about him.
They gather together, they get Bill Pullman, and they're like, how about we just print our own paper?
They call him Bill Pullman, too. That's the really weird thing.
That's the weird thing. Yeah. Hey, Bill Pullman. He's like, I have a character name. They're like, all right, Bill Pullman. Yeah, and Crutchy has a real name, too.
Yeah, you and Crutchy both.
So they have Bill Pullman and them, like, they all work together to print some newspapers using, wait for it, Bill Pulitzer's basement that Jack Kelly slept in. He slept on the printing press, and wow.
They use that to print the paper. Yeah. Again, we'll get into, like, I guess some of the finer details later of, like, just how it, like, there's so many moments where I felt like they thought it was going to be a bigger impact than it was.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, I get it, cool. And if it sounds like we're all over the place with this, like, description, just understand it's because, like, there's a lot of people in this movie, and, like, none of them really have a name. Like, they do, but, like, they don't... It
doesn't matter.
No character set up of really hardly anyone. And, like I said, I think it's a pretty apt description to say kind of the same thing happens like 4 times in this movie and then it's resolved. You know what I mean? It's like they try to meet here, it gets broken up. They try to meet there, it gets broken up.
They print papers. They, like, 2 people get taken to jail. They print papers, and now everything's fine. Yeah, so they rally all the working kids of New York together. Like, all of them, even ones who are very unaffected by the strike. Like, they're pulling them out of their I don't know, factory jobs, and the kids are like, I guess we'll help you guys dance around some more. Sure, why not?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They all rally together, and Pulitzer is like, what? All the noise of these kids? Go back to work, please. And they were like, hey, how about you just calm down and come to a resolution with us? And he's like, all right,
yeah,
fine.
Yeah. He's like, oh,
okay.
I guess that makes sense.
And Snyder gets arrested
for some reason.
Yeah,
I'm like, I think it's because he did anything illegal. But it's just you guys see the bad guy.
He was hoarding money from the thing, and I guess Bill Pullman told Teddy Roosevelt, because I guess they're friends. I don't know.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt shows up at the end.
Yeah, they talk about Teddy Roosevelt like a lot in this movie too.
Yeah.
And then so it's just one of those, again, I think it's one of those things where it's like, see, now he's there. Payoff, right? Like, that's how you resolve
no
things.
lines of dialogue or anything. Yeah, everyone gets to... Yeah, and Jack's like, hooray, I can finally go to Santa Fe. And that's it. And everyone celebrates.
Well, but then he decides to stay.
Yeah,
and he's like, never mind, New York. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Wouldn't it be great, though? Like, I tell you what, I would have given this movie a 10 out of 10 and watched it every day for the rest of my life if the end of this movie would have been, like, the speech where Teddy Roosevelt got, like, shot. You know what I mean? Like, and just like, whoa, that was out of left field. Man, that, like...
And he's there, like, hunched over, hand over his chest.
Jack Kelly takes the bullet for him or something. You know, it's like, wow, it's just...
It's an alternate, like Quentin Tarantino, alternate history.
Yes, revisionist history.
All, like, leading up to...
Sorry, but then half the people wouldn't have gotten it, so...
Yeah. Once Upon a Time in New York. That's what this is.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in New York, there was a young Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
the whole movie.
About as good as we can get describing that. Yeah.
So fun facts about this movie. We have the director Kenny Ortega, who's also part of such huge Disney projects as Descendants, High School Musical, Hocus Pocus. And I would say, given that knowledge, this movie makes total sense to me.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I mean, he's a amazing choreographer.
Yeah.
Like really, and this movie does have that. There's lots of flash and dance and not flash dance. That's a very
There's a lot of
movie.
flash dance in this movie.
Yeah, very different. But yeah. Like as soon as I saw Kenny Ortega's name like pop up, I was like, oh, okay, like I get what I'm in for. And to his credit, I will say, I feel like his filmmaking has gotten exponentially better since then.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, maybe he's learned to trust it. I don't know. Because like, I will say High School Musical feels more put together
than this
movie.
Because I don't think the problems of the movie are necessarily his fault. Well, we can get into it later.
Yeah, that'll be coming up next.
So, over in Disney's California Adventure, I believe it ended recently, but they used to have a vague Newsboys show. I don't think it was ever specifically like said to be Newsies like related, but they would have like some melodies of some of the songs in here, but then they would do like completely different songs. But it was like definitely supposed to be a Newsies show without calling it a Newsies show. But Mickey Mouse was in it.
Oh yeah, I feel like California Adventure. You kind of walk around and he's got that. Also a lot of hats in this movie. A lot of hats. Like, can we bring those back?
Those
like,
newsboy hats?
Man, like not even newsboy. You had the newsboys, and then you had some people had the top hats and the bowlers, and like. Yeah. I just, man.
Good hats.
Yeah. Love a good accessory. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like more.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know, here in the, what is it? The All-Star Music or something like that. There's like the Broadway section.
Yeah.
And there's like a big Newsies poster.
Oh, yeah, that's
from the
cool.
show, not from the movie,
right.
But, you know.
But that's
inspired
something.
the show, so.
Yeah, and of course there is the big, like, Broadway musical that happened, like 25 years later. They made they made it into a Broadway musical that is so exponentially better put together.
Yeah, 1,000. Well, I think they kind of were like, hey, you know, they just leaned into the musical aspect of it more, and they cleaned it up. I think you
they took away like unnecessary, like Bill Pullman and like the random sister love interest. They kind of combined it to be like this news reporter girl who like is a love interest, but she's also working for the paper, and so you even get that like kind of thing you were talking about where characters have like misunderstandings and things.
Yeah.
Like you get a lot of that in there.
It's conflict. There's really not any conflict in this movie. The whole crux that makes this movie even happen is
like Jack Kelly actually cares about Crutchy. Like his big moment of Santa Fe, like his big moment is
the big number.
is after Crutchy gets taken, and Jack is so hurt by his friend, like
by losing his friend.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's just so hurt by that. He sings this whole like power ballad to himself. Where here, Jack like leaves Dave's family's house and goes, "So that's what a family's like. Now I'm sad."
Yeah, like, it's really weird. I feel like watching this movie and knowing, like, I've never seen the musical all the way through, but I know it. I've seen the big numbers, you know, like King of New York and all that. And I've read it, and so like I feel like seeing the two, it feels like the movie is almost like a draft of the like it's like a rough draft, you know,
like they made this and like this is a fun idea, and to the movie's credit, it is. All the ideas are good ideas.
Yeah.
And all the songs are good ideas for songs.
For sure, yeah.
And, like, the character, like, every moment is just like, wow, what a good idea. Maybe in 25 years someone can clean this up and, like...
Yeah, I feel like
it's like a really good product on our hands.
I feel like it's like if you took all the, like, pieces of a pie and you put them in the pan, or whatever you bake a pie in. I don't know. You get the analogy. But then you didn't, like, put it in the oven. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't... All the pieces are there. But
like, this definitely
it's
a pie.
kind of a mess. But it's, you know, until you fix it up a little bit and you put it in the oven and you have it baked, it's just kind of messy and all over the place.
Right.
And that's sort of how I felt that, like, with this movie, is like that it's which I know we're supposed to be talking about facts right now, but
it doesn't matter.
But yeah, I feel like it's all there. Yeah. It's well shot. You know what I mean, it's not a poorly shot movie.
Well, let's get into it. Let's just talk like about the movie and how we feel about it in general. Like we can get into that now.
Yeah. So you know, I feel like it's
like on my scale, I have is this like a hidden treasure, or should it be locked away in the vault? Get it out of here. We don't need to see it anymore.
I would say I think it's definitely not a hidden treasure. I will say that much. I wasn't like blown away, and I think you said this as well. I think especially if you've seen the musical and you haven't seen the movie, I would say go back and watch this because I think it kind of gives you a newfound respect for the musical. You're like, oh wow, like this is, you know, the musical, like you said, it's so much better.
Yeah.
And if you've seen neither, I would definitely say maybe watch the movie first and then watch the musical.
Yeah, if you're going to see both. Or if you just want one, watch the musical. Yeah. They're both on Disney+. Yes,
it's basically the same thing. It's just a better version. Yeah. So I would say the story of Newsies, and I would say the music, I think there are probably more people that know of it as a musical, you know, and then I think there's a lot of people who didn't know it was this movie musical, quote unquote, you know, beforehand. And yeah, so I wouldn't say it should be locked away forever, but I think it's a learning tool. You know, it's like learning from your history, and I think especially if you happen to be you know, a cinephile or you know, kind of a more,
or if you love like musicals, especially like Disney musicals, like you get some like Alan Menken songs, which is always good, including the one that won a Razzie for a worst song.
Oh yeah.
So not all of his finest work, but definitely at the time his most recent. I can give him that much.
Yeah, and
chronologically, it was his most recent work at the time.
Yeah, and speaking of Razzies, just a quick thing that I kind of forgot to the tomatoes like randomly in the movie. I think that's a little gem. It really has nothing to do with anything we're talking about right now, but it's just a nice little point.
There was a moment where one of their like 17 like brawls with the like people around them. They're ripping up all the newspapers, and there's just tomatoes they're throwing. Where did they come from?
And it felt like the most like, you know,
were they carrying them?
Cliched thing, you know, like that you literally see in like SpongeBob now or whatever, where they're like buying the tomatoes like throw at the stage. Yeah. So I think where this movie falls for me is like it's like kind of this lukewarm, kind of mediocre in a way.
Yeah.
But
I definitely get why, because it has like a bit of a cult following, which is why it eventually got a musical.
Yeah.
Like because it had like this sort of like underground like fan base, and I get where they're coming from because you can like the ideas more than you like what it actually is.
For sure, and I also think that I would have loved this movie, maybe not loved, but I would have liked this movie a lot more if I had seen it as a kid.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely
just
appeals.
Like the kids taking on the bourgeoisie, you know.
Yeah, good work.
Thank you. I have a word of the day calendar.
Yeah, it's right there.
And I can check it off.
Next
is Crutchy. I have to figure that one out.
I had to shoehorn that one in.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I think that it would have appealed more to like, it's like those movies you go back and you watch from your childhood now, you know what I mean? But I didn't get the childhood part. I just watched it now and I'm like, oh, this isn't as good as I thought it was.
No.
But yeah, I think, again, talking about enjoying musicals, which I really do, but I enjoy I'm not a big fan of musicals for musicals' sake. Like you know, I think the really good ones kind of earn when you're singing and dancing.
Yeah.
You know, because this isn't like, there are some musicals like Les Mis or Phantom where the whole thing we're singing, you just buckle up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to sing through the whole thing, and that serves its purpose. But this one's mostly story with a few breaks in there for the singing, and I think that a lot of, including the musical adaptation of this one or other Alan Menken musicals in general, earn those breaks more, you know? Like Hercules, I Can Go the Distance, I think is probably one of the best things I can think of that song is really earned. You know what I mean? Like, it leads up to it well. You understand it. I feel like so much of this movie is, I can tell you want me to feel something here. And I can tell I should, but I
feel it.
Yeah,
because you haven't brought me there.
What's like, you know, just the big moment at the end is he decides to stay, and Susie or whatever what was it? Sarah. There we go.
Susie.
I thought of her name.
Susie. Sarah.
Susie Sarah. Crutchy 2. No. They finally kiss. You know what I mean? And the music swells, and all the kids are cheering, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know, I just don't, like, I don't know if I'm just getting old, and I'm like, ugh, you know, at this point, like, you know, maybe I'm signing with Pulitzer at this point, and I'm like, just get to work, you kids. No, that's not true. But yeah, you know, it felt like there was a lot of those moments of, like, that I think they cleaned up in the musical of going, let's trim the fat.
Everything feels more earned, and they take out unnecessary songs and put in way better songs.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like some of the songs they put in are better than the ones they start with. It might be Alan Menken, like, over time, like, getting better too. So, if we were to take this movie and make an attraction for it at Walt Disney World, would we try to make it a show? Would we try to make it a ride? Where would we put it? The park?
Okay, I think the natural reaction would be to go to show. You know what I mean? And put it in, like, either, like
just bring the old, like, California Adventure show over.
Right. So we can go down that road, or we can go a more logistic road, but I have a bit of this is a bit of a wild one here, so stay with me.
Let's do it.
I say, you remember back when Disney was trying to open, like, another theme park in, I think, Virginia?
Right.
Called, like, Disney's America?
Yeah.
Which, wow, way to brand America as your own. But, you know, if that had come to fruition, this would have been the perfect thing for that. Like,
no, 100%.
You have, like, an old, like, 19th century New York, you know what I mean? And, yeah, but you actually have to make your own. But yeah, no, I think it would have been a great.
They could have, like, actual, like, people on the streets, like, as Newsies. These actors, like, trying to sell you these papers, like a full themed, like, fully immersive, like Galaxy's Edge, but Newsies.
Galaxy's Edge, but you're being oppressed. I guess children, like, the kids are just, like, being pushed around kind of vaguely by the adults and, like, you know, called crazy. Like, I don't like them touching my kid that way, but it's like, you know, I guess it's the theme. No, I think. And Disney used to have a lot more streetmosphere than we do now.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember being a kid and walking around Magic Kingdom, and almost every land, randomly you would run into something.
They used to be like Cowboys
in
Frontierland.
And so back in the good old days, like, so, you know, I would love to. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but I remembered them wanting to build that park, and I was like, this would be, like, perfect for that kind of park.
Build a whole New York section and have it be. I think if they built, like, the America Park based off the America from their movies, like, that'd be really cool. Like, instead of just, like, this is New York, be like, this is New York seen through the eyes of the Newsies. This is Philadelphia seen through the eyes of Johnny Tremaine.
If they had kept that deal with MGM, you could have done, like, a Singing in the Rain L.A.
That's true.
That would have been really cool.
That'd
you know,
great.
Just like a very Americana vibe to everything. You know.
I like that a lot.
That would have been cool, but given what we currently have, because I think that'd be fun too, is trying to fit it in somewhere. And I don't want to do a show, because I think a show, again, would make the most sense.
Just do music and have them do a jump kick and a flip. And
right. So, like, I would like to think maybe you could do. Oh, you know what would be kind of fun is if you do, like, a dark ride, but one of those kind of, like, exhilarating dark rides, like what I think Ratatouille is going to be. I don't know because I haven't been to Disneyland
Paris yet. Like the trackless, like
where it goes kind of fast and it moves you around,
or almost
quickly.
Like a dinosaur or a
or like Spider-Man
at Universal.
Yeah, you know what I mean, where you're in that grimy
dark
street,
ride, but it's very like
immersive. You know, that'd be cool. And I can even pitch you what the like post ride.
Do it.
So. I don't know if you ever went to Interventions.
I did.
As a kid, like a long time ago. Like there was a part I remember for a while where you could. I remember doing this as a kid, and I think it was Interventions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, but you made your own paper, legitimately. Like you had a quick little process, and I'm sure they like, you know, fastened it up a little bit. But like, you like. I just remember going through like several steps, and they like put this thing in water and like kind of shook it, and like
that would be really cool.
And so like if you did that, but
like the Newsies experience,
yeah, like but instead of making your own paper, maybe you make your own newspaper. Like they have the paper there, you put the blocks down on the thing, and you roll it out, like because they seem to do it pretty quickly in the movie. I don't know, maybe it's a much more expedited process than
one song montage.
Yeah, a quick little Eye of the Tiger thing, but like but yeah, like if you put that in afterwards, and you could do your own headline, that'd be pretty cool.
Extra about it. I really liked.
You could just get that
sausages at the restaurant across the street.
You could get that animatronic in Spaceship Earth that they've been hiding for like the past 10 years or so.
The newsboy.
He's turned around because he used to face the vehicle. I don't know if he was on that same.
Did his face break? What happened there?
I've heard so many rumors. I've heard the rumors that he doesn't even have a face anymore, that his face like fell off, and they were like, just turn it around. And I'm like, I don't see that being the case. Or I've just heard that he kind of broke, and so.
They're like, but whatever.
I'm like, they've just. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can't cut that audio.
I don't know.
It's just to me, it's so bananas that he's just facing that other way now. If they had just taken him out, it would have made more sense to me. Like even with the audio of the like extra, like I would have been like, or we can't see where he is. Yeah, atmosphere. I get it. But the fact that he's just turned around has irked me for like 10 years. Like it really has. But yeah, you just get a lot of those.
That's great.
And have them do.
I love the idea of making a paper and giving that newsboy and Matronic a new job.
Right?
That'd be two great things.
Put him back to work.
Yeah. Awesome. But are you glad you saw it?
I am. As a new New Yorker, sort of, or former
New Yorker / future New Yorker.
Future New Yorker again, as of April. Yeah, been back up. But I'm glad I saw it. I think it gave me a new appreciation for the musical version for sure. Mm-hmm. And it was that was a good time. Good time. Always fun hanging out with you, Gabriel.
All right. Well, I have some papes to sell, so I'm gonna go.
All right, buddy. It's been fun.
Extra, read all about it. New Into the Vault episode. It's fine. It's pretty good. Listen to it.
It's good. We talked about an okay movie.
It's 10 cents for a whole episode. Just kidding, they're free.
The podcast is free. Yeah, actually, it's sponsored by
nobody.
Nobody
sponsors me.
Wait, how about I sponsored?